Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one leaves countries. Lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives. Buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social side, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one leaves countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Good morning and welcome to the show. This is Rock the Boat right here on UCY.TV, the best little network on the freaking internet. And I'm your host for the next 2 hours. I really enjoyed the show last night over on Revolution Radio. Duck called in and Faye called in from Calgary. And they're doing some really good work out there. They get it. And they're holding people's feet to the fire, and that's what we got to do. You know, we don't, we got to become active. Plain and simple. We should have been active 40 years ago, at least. So they got a big head start on us, but we're going to beat them back. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is going to be the nation that does it. These are the people that are going to do it. One thing I'm having a hard time trying to figure out, maybe somebody can help me on this somehow, is we really need to get the natives on side here. If we can get the natives of North America on side, I do believe that is going to make the job a whole hell of a lot easier. Because as the natives were genocided, we're being genocided. And, you know, we got to get over this idea that it was the Christians that genocided the natives. It wasn't. It was the corporation that genocided the natives. Plain and simple. The people of these lands weren't running around wiping out the natives, but they were silent about it. Maybe there was people that, I'm sure there was lots of people that voiced their opinion, just like there are people voicing their opinions today about what was going on with the natives is absolutely wrong. But the majority of the people just stayed silent. And silence, of course, is consent. And the good people who came to these lands to get away from the tyranny that they were under in their homelands, they didn't come here to genocide the natives. You know, just like we're complaining today about people who don't integrate. Well, it's just a repeat. We came to someone else's lands and we didn't integrate. We allowed the corporation, the colonizers, to genocide the people that originally held these lands. Now we're doing the same thing again. And we got to learn from history here somehow. But we got to work with real history, unfortunately. Those that win the wars and that, they write the history. And the history is absolutely incorrect. All the way down the line, the history is all wrong. So we got to come together somehow and join forces here and take back these lands ASAP. Because if we don't, we're going to end up in the same condition as the natives. And that's what the native lady expressed to me at the reserve when I asked her a simple question. Do you get the plan for Whitey? And she just nodded yes quietly. Didn't say a word, just nodded her head. And I said, why do you get it so easy? And talking to Whitey like beating her head on the wall. She said, simple. We lived through it. Now it's your turn. And these words came from a probably, 55-year-old native woman who totally gets it, who apparently understands the real history. Then it is our turn if we don't stand up. They're driving people off the lands just the way they did the natives. They're putting them on reserves, just like they're doing with us today. They're driving the people into the cities, which are the reserves, the new reserves, where they control every aspect of your life, just like they do with the natives today, and have been since they genocided them and tore their children from their homes, their parents, and put them into the schools. Same thing they do with your children. They take your children from you at the earliest possible time, and they put them in the schools. No difference. No difference. And they have total control of your children, and they're destroying your children. Your children are fluoridated. Your children are vaccinated. Your children are indoctrinated. They're killing your kids. And I don't know how a parent can possibly turn a blind eye to what's going on. It couldn't be more obvious. But then those parents came through the schools as well. The ignorance level in our nations is so high. If it wasn't so sad, it'd be funny, I guess. Faye was on last night, and I know Duck he has a great deal of he holds Hitler in a great deal of esteem, and what the German people tried to do, which was have a nation, and we get all this flack about the Jews and that, which was taught to us in school. Another lie. And I was a little nervous last night when Duck brought up about Hitler, and because I wasn't sure where Faye was going to go with this, but her family was involved in all of this slaughter, so she understood exactly what he was talking about. So that made a good little point there. And so Faye threw out a what's it called here? Blackbird 9 trading post. So I want to thank Montreal for putting that in chat last night, because I got a lot of stuff going on in my head. So he put the link in there, and I thank him for that. So I went there last night because I'd never heard of this place before. So I looked around in a little bit after the show last night, and I went to the video part of it, and I watched a video called Hellstorm, the Dresden Holocaust. And that was absolutely sickening, because I may have heard about it. I may not have. I probably did, but you go through so much stuff. I mean, I knew about Berlin being bombed and that, but I didn't know this thing about Dresden. Not the way I do now. If that don't make you want to throw up, I don't know what would. This was a wholesale slaughter of. There were no army. There was no army in Dresden. There was no military conflict to be had in Dresden. And they came in there and slaughtered. The numbers run from 170 to 400,000 people. There was no army there. They just came in and firebombed the place. And if that don't make you sick, I don't know what will. And I think I don't know what happened there. I got to do some research. Maybe somebody's already done the research, can help me out on this. But the whole idea of the army in America was to protect America. It wasn't looking for a fight anywhere. And the idea, I know, was to suck them into the wars. Because America didn't want to go to war. It wasn't their war. The idea was to protect your own lands from an invasion on your lands. And somehow, some way, I got twisted. And I think, World War II created the United Nations and Israel, two very evil entities. So somewhere in there, between the First and Second World War, or the end of the Second World War, America became not an army to protect its lands, but the industrial military complex, of which I know Kennedy warned about it. I don't know if other presidents warned about it or not. But something took place there, and America lost its soul. And that's a sad situation. Because since that time, the United States, which is the corporation which controls the military, has turned into a death machine. And you have, I don't know, the mindset has completely changed. Went from, well, ain't our war, we didn't start it, we're not involved in it, nobody's threatening us, to we're just going to preemptive strike everybody and put military bases all over the planet. We all know Winston Churchill was a piece of dirt when he was elected. He's the one that ordered the firebombing, but it wasn't so much the British. It was the British, but the Americans played a humongous, major role in firebombing Dresden. Then they went even further. They came back and back and back and back. As the people of Dresden were trying to deal with this massive number of dead bodies, those doing the work were getting slaughtered. They were instructed if they saw cattle in the field, kill them. Kill everything. But when I went to school, Germany was the evil entity. That film, I'm going to throw this particular link in here. I only got to, like, some of the stuff in here, some stuff from Red Ice and that, but you can just scroll down here till I hit the Dresden Holocaust, and that should really irritate the hell out of anybody that watches it. So we're stuck with the Jews, and they control pretty much everything. I remember. I don't even know what he was yammering on about. Prime Minister Harper was standing at the podium, and he was kind of fumbling around a little bit, and he was talking, and Tony Clement, who is, I called him the Jew boy there, but he was standing behind Harper, and Harper started to he started to fumble a little bit. Wasn't sure. I mean, these words are probably coming out of Harper's mouth. And what the hell am I saying? And Tony Clement came and stood just off to the side and just very slightly behind Harper. And Harper turned and looked at him, and Clement just nodded to him a couple of times and backed up. And Harper continued his speech. This is the kind of control that's going on. All of our leaders are puppets. They've always been puppets. The laws that are implemented are the laws that they're told to implement. It's all about grinding us down. It's all about putting a noose around us. You can't move anymore without breaking a law. You walk out the door in the morning, you probably broke a law. So this idea of freedom, when people say we're fighting for freedom, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're fighting for those who wish to tighten the noose. Tighter and tighter and tighter. So you're not fighting for freedom. You're not protecting your nation. If our military was there to protect their nation, they'd all be standing on the border right now. And anybody that came to that border who didn't have a legitimate reason to be at the border, and if you're crossing from one country into another at unmanned borders, then you obviously have no right to be crossing onto somebody else's land. But what have we got? We've got the RCMP carrying luggage for the asylum seekers, so to speak. And where did they all come from? They were created. I almost choked when I read in one of the UN documents that there are more displaced people today than there were after the Second World War. Well, how'd that come about? 65 million people, I think the number was. And they said, I think after the Second World War, there were 61 million people displaced. But right now, there's supposedly 65 million people displaced, looking for somewhere to go. The United Nations was formed so that if anybody started a war anywhere on the planet, that the other member states would put a stop to it ASAP. It was the mission of peace. Through the United Nations, we will have peace on the earth. We ain't had a day's worth of peace since we haven't had any peace since they formed the League of Nations right after the First World War. But America wouldn't join. So I have to do it all over again. The enemy here, and I don't care what you believe or don't believe, I could care less. I mean, this is just fact. There are two enemies that have to be beaten before the internationalists, which are the Jews. If you look up internationalists, you will find Jew. And everything is international now. International law, international police. Oh, you really choked when I saw that, the international police chiefs. Oh, I go, oh shit. So these aren't your police chiefs. These are their police chiefs. They aren't your police forces, they're their police forces. But two things have to disappear, and one is that American Constitution. It was George Bush, a Republican, that said, it's this damn piece of paper. It'd be so much easier without it. So they have to crush that. They have to rip it up. They have to make it disappear. They have to fill people's heads with the idea that, you ask a student in school today what America is, or the United States, but see, they interchange these words constantly. This is the biggest Jew trick on the planet. To take two things that are complete opposites of one another and mold them together so that people think they mean the same thing. America is the nation, the people. The United States is the corporation. Legal is corporate law. Law is the law that was given to you by your creator. But they mix these terms. So people think legal means law and law means legal. Not even close. Not even close. But the Jews are a very tricky bunch. And history spells that out. So the Constitution has to go bye-bye. And the Christian faith has to go bye-bye. This is what our nations are built upon. This is the law that we're supposed to be following, not corporate law. Once you're in corporate law, you don't exist anymore. But if you went to a school now and you asked a student, an American student, what kind of government America has, and people would tell you it's a democracy, when in fact it's a republic. Just like Netsky said way back in the mid-19th century when Darwinism came along, and that said, we killed God. We're not going to tell anybody we killed him just yet. We'll let them hang on to that. Well, we move our program forward. And the program that they ran was to remove God and replace it with the scientists. And they said we couldn't move the ecology forward as long as God existed, because you're moving from worshiping the creator to worshiping the creation. Well, who wants to who wants to control and destroy the creation? Call him whatever you want. Call him Lucifer, the devil, call him Satan. I don't give a damn what you call him. And that the scientists would be the new priests. And just like in the old days when nobody had the balls to question a priest. Whatever the priest said was the law. You didn't question. These are the experts, the knowledgeable ones. And now you're not to question the scientists. Because if you question a scientist, it's like if you question a priest, you're a denier, sacrilege, blasphemy. And it's the same thing with science today. And that's why they have to get rid of the Christian faith. And they've pretty much done that. Pretty much the same thing they've done to the Constitution of America. Over time, it starts to disappear because they replace it. They don't tell you they're going to replace it because you'd be mad about it. They just do it slowly. So now you have the Christian churches and the people in the Christian churches who accept all kinds of nonsense because the new priests are telling them, the scientists are telling them that global warming's real. So they go in the Bible and they find a statement in the Bible that says we're supposed to be stewards of the land. So then the preachers tell the people that, well, where it says right here we're supposed to be good stewards of the land, that means we have to be environmentalists. I don't think that word shows up in the Bible, but that's how they do these things. They manipulate. Call them Jews, call them Jesuits, call them whatever the hell you want, but they're evil. They're absolutely amoral because we know that the legal system, not law, the legal system, which is the corporate system, is adversarial. When you look up adversary, you see the word Satan. And it really doesn't matter what people believe. You know, if you want to believe that you evolved from a great ape, fill your boots. But understand that the definition of a human is that of an animal. Now, if you wish to be an animal, then you shall be treated like an animal. You know, everybody got mad when that guy from Nestle said, you know, there's no, humans don't have a right to water or whatever it was he said, something along those lines. He's absolutely correct. Because a human is an animal. God gave man dominion over the animals. So what we have here is we have a small group of satanic, amoral a-holes who decided that let's switch this out and we'll be the gods. And we'll turn everybody else into an animal. Now, you know that came out of the Jewish house because it's written in their books that we're animals. We're the goy. We're the Gentiles. And we're animals. And we should be treated as such. So you know where they're coming from. They're the ones that created the legal system. They're the ones that created the banking system. They're the ones that created the lawyering system. So we know they're evil. And there are only two things on this planet. There is good and there is evil. And what I fail to understand about 99, call it 90, they do this thing with Occupy, which was set up by the Jews, by the way. And now we have this anti-fascist movement, which is set up by the Jews. Because if you're not an internationalist, then you're a fascist. That's it. Either you're with us or you're against us. Either you're with the Jews or you're against the Jews. That's what it basically boils down to. But you know, the 99% of the people on the planet are basically good. And we have this 1% that is completely and totally amoral and evil. And how it is we allow this small group of amoral a-holes to control not only our personal lives, but our planet, because it is our planet, because it was given to us. We were given dominion. But we were warned not to be deceived. And we allowed ourselves to be deceived, and that's how we find ourselves in the position we're in now. Because the deceivers always offer you benefits. And man seems to be easily deceived because he always likes something for nothing, apparently. But you don't get anything for nothing. You give something up. And every time we sign something, it's no different than, forget the guy's name, the old blues singer at the crossroad there, sign here. And that's what we've been doing all along, is signing ourselves away, getting farther and farther and farther away from the Creator, and closer to total, inescapable evil. So, you know, I see people all the time saying, and this really bothers me, I think, more than anything else. I see people who leave comments on my stuff and they'll go, "Oh, we're doomed now. We're screwed now." Well, you might be. I'm not. And I don't think the rest of the people are either. This idea of just succumbing, you know, this idea, and Faye brought up a very interesting thing last night on the show. These people waiting for these so-called Christians waiting for the Messiah to return. I look at it totally different. I look at this as the final test of man. And either we put a stop to this evil, or we're all going down. We've allowed ourselves to be deceived and manipulated and screwed with. And basically, the big guy is saying, hey, you made your bed. Now deal with it. I told you not to be deceived, and you were. I told you were a man, and now you're an animal. So this one's on you, folks. This one's on you. So I have these so-called Christians who just either want to be silent, and silence is consent, or they're actually helping destroy themselves. When you've got so-called Christians holding banners welcoming Muslims into the nation who wish to slaughter your sorry ass, then that just shows you how badly these people have been deceived. And people say, well, we can't do anything. Well, that's simple. I guess not. We'll just sit here and wait. We'll just line ourselves up along the ditches like they did in the wars and allow someone to put us down because we're just animals. I mean, you don't have to be an Einstein to figure out what's going on here. Humans are destroying the planet. The Queen's hubby, Prince Philip, wants to come back after he dies, which shouldn't be far from now because he's 90, I don't know what he is now, 95. So he ain't got much longer on this planet, but he wants to come back. He wants to be reincarnated as a deadly virus. Now, we know he's going to die soon, and what have we got? We've got Bill Gates running around talking about deadly viruses. Now, is there a connection between these things? Of course there is. I mean, the numbers are out there, and I think the number, they want to drop the percentage of people on this planet way down. Now, they said that the Earth can hold, I think, 1 billion people or something at Western standards and 2 billion people at Bangladeshi standards or something. So if you do the numbers, we're going to end up with that number 6 again. Only this time the number won't be 6 million, it'll be 6 billion. But it's still that number. And I still don't get that number. Because I was watching something last night after I watched the Dresden thing, and I'd seen something of that before, where in the papers back from, I don't know, back in the 1800s even, that number 6 million kept popping up. Even before the war, they were talking about 6 million, death of 6 million Jews. That's before the fucking war got going. And years and years and years before that. So I don't exactly know what the Jews are doing with this 6. But if you look at the population and you look at the final population you want, it would seem that the number they want to get rid of is 6. Now, I don't know if this 6 applies to the other 6, and there's another 6 somewhere which adds up to 666. I have no idea. But this number 6 keeps banging around. And this is the final battle. And this is a battle. It's a spiritual, psychological battle. They've weakened our spirits, our minds, and our spines. And they use their psychology to deceive, manipulate. And these are the tools they've been using. What does this say here? 1666. This is in the chat, and I want to thank Anon here. I want to say anonymous because I hate that freaking stupid thing, because that's a UN figure, mouthpiece. 1666 is a date with the Roman Empire Catholic Church when we lost being men and women, and instead we are dead. Really? I'll have to look. Thank you very much for that. I'll have to look that up. So that is, I guess, the corporation. Okay, so I guess to get rid of 6 billion is just settling accounts, because we are just corporate accounts in their world. So they got too many accounts to handle, too much liability. They don't need us. They've got robots now. We built it. They're going to destroy it and us, and cull the herd. So Prince Philip says, time to cull the herd, and herd is animal, and that's what they look at us as, and they have no more use for us. So we know these things. So what are we going to do? Cower and wait for this supposed inevitability? I don't think so. We got to get mentally, physically, and spiritually strong. And when you think about it, everything they've done is to weaken those three things. I mean, you look at the physical characteristics of most of the people now, it's getting pretty pathetic. You know, they're obese. They're eating pharmaceuticals like candies because they got all these medical problems. Their minds are mush, and their spirits are dead. But I am absolutely convinced, and nobody can convince me otherwise, that the blood of our forefathers is still coursing in our veins. These are the strong men and women who got on the boats. I mean, I just can't imagine. You know, if you look at what these people went through to come to the West, to come to North America, with little or nothing for supplies, tools, not knowing where they're actually going, what they're going to find, how they're going to survive. But they did. Those are tough men and women. And they sacrificed. And a horde of them died. But they were determined. And that's the difference between them and us today. They were determined. Now we worry about our creature comforts. And we got to quit on that somehow. You know, I don't know how exactly we're going to thank you very much. 3952 for that. I appreciate that. Send me the act. I mean, I did look up Roman slave law. Then there's a book out there called Roman Slave Law. I don't have the, you can look it up, you'll find it. But when I went through that book, we never left that. You know, we are still basically Roman slaves. The system that we run under now is basically pretty close to identical as to what's in that Roman slave book. I think it's called Roman Slave Law. I think it's what it's called. It was spooky, you know, because you have the two entities. You have the slave and the man. And we have the slave, or we have the man and the corporate entity. And when you go through that book and you work this through, it's the same thing. Same damn thing. So, what are we going to do about it? That's the question. What are we going to do about it? I mean, I know what the solution is, but I just don't know how we're going to put enough people together to do what needs doing. If you study coups, it all works out basically the same. most of the people are weak. So when a coup takes place in a country, the people just go along. You know, when I phoned in Alex Jones, God, that's a long, long, long time ago. And, you know, I just said, you know, here's all you got to do. You know, you got all these people marching on Washington all the time. You're never going to accomplish anything like that. You got to go through the front door. And you got to arrest these people. Plain and simple. But at the same time, you have to take the media. You can't do one without the other. They're totally interconnected. Because if you go in and you arrest the Senate, Congress, and take the White House, and you didn't take the media, well, the media is not going to play this well. So you have to have the media. It really doesn't take that many people. It really, truly doesn't. So you go take back the House, the legislature, Parliament. You take them. Now we've got to have some intelligent people to do it. You know, we have to have people that understand administration. We have to have people that understand the workings, because we don't want some ridiculous fiasco taking place. You don't want to replace one problem with a new problem. But at the same token, if you have the media at the same time, it's just like the Jews said, you know, go get control of the 25 most important papers, and then we own the message. And you're absolutely correct, and that's what they did. Easy to deceive people that way. Easy to control them. So, you have to have some media savvy people, and you have to have some, you know, well-rounded people in administration, accounting, all that kind of stuff. And because, well, what the end result has to be here is that we get our nation back, which is the people, and the people are lost. So we have to get our lands back. Okay? And that includes the native people. We've got to work together. We've got to get our lands back. And we already own the lands because possession is 90% of the law. Everything on these lands we built. The corporation didn't build anything, we built it. Blood, sweat, and tears. So we own these lands. It's just our lands are being controlled by somebody that doesn't have the right to control. You know, all this nonsense up in Oregon and that with the BLM, or is it the BLM? That's Black Lives Matter. Whatever it is. It might be the same numbers or the same letters. But the federal land management got to go. The lands have to be totally restored back to the people. We got to get back to law, and we got to throw the legal system. All of the debt. You know, people go, well, what about the debt? There is no debt. It's fraudulent debt. Therefore, it doesn't exist. We get our lands back. The debt is gone, disappeared, out of here. So now we're debt free. We have control of our lands. We have control of our lives. And then we rebuild back to what our forefathers were trying to build for us in the first place. And that's a free nation. The nation is the men and the women. So we're talking about free men and women when you're talking about the nation. But then we have to be extremely diligent. Because we can't let this start again. But I think once the people have control of the nation, which is each other and the land, you will find, and no debt, you will find that the poverty disappears. You will find the violence disappears. You will find the fractured society heal itself. We will find that when we get rid of these parties, and the word party means to divide, democracy means to divide, and the parties are there to divide the people. Therefore, last thing we want when we restructure this is parties. Those parties were put there specifically to keep the people fighting amongst themselves as the evil ones did their evil deeds. We're too busy looking here instead of over there. Call it magic. Or they call those people the magi. So we just basically got to get back to being men who have dominion over the lands, and then we're good to go. But how we get there is the question. Now, I'm not really up on violence because I know that's what they want. So I don't think that's where we want to go. If we get violent and they have the media still, then it ain't going to turn out well at all. You know, it's just going to turn into a mess. And a lot of very innocent people are going to be hurt or killed. And I don't think we want to go there. I don't think we have to go there. You know, one of the things that was really obvious when I was talking to Jones, what did think? Anyways, when I was talking to Jones so many years ago, and he had that retired general, I think it was, in the studio for his show. And Joe Jones was going, you know, I got this crazy Canadian here who say we just walk in and take it. And I'm telling him that won't work. Now, what Jones is saying, he says if we did that, they would set off truck bombs and blame us for it. Huh? See, Jones isn't a guy that's looking for a solution. Jones is a guy who likes to stir the chaos and keep it chaotic. You can't be this 1776 guy this long and not come up with a solution. So he's just another one of these bought and paid for players to gather up those who are unhappy with the situation and deceive and manipulate them, which he's done a pretty good job of over the years. But that general he talked to, he says, you know, I got this crazy Canadian on here just says, we just do this. And the general says, this killed me. The general says, that won't work. And Jones got all excited. I told that Canadian that wouldn't work. You tell him, General, why it won't work. Well, it's simple, says the General. If we did that when we got there, there wouldn't be anybody there because they would all run away. And he's absolutely correct. Because these sneaky, lying SOBs are also chicken shits. They surround themselves with arms. Not sure they know how to shoot a gun, but they go and they pay these henchmen, police or military, whatever, to protect them. But if you face them, they will run. And history states they will run because when they come up here and burn down the legislative building on the east coast of Canada, and we didn't have airplanes and we didn't have nuclear weapons or any of that shit. We didn't even have cars. But when they came up here and burned down our legislature, what did we do? Well, that was back in the day of eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Because the rule of law is do no harm. Well, you caused us harm. Now we have to deal with this. So some regulars and some natives and some troops headed to Washington, not knowing what they're going to run into. They're expecting some serious pushback when they get there. When they get there, they're absolutely freaked out because, just like the General said, would happen today, happened back then. Everybody had run away. So we're fearing something we don't need fear. And why we fear it is totally beyond me. I mean, there are a hell of a lot more of us than there are of them. So why do we accept this nonsense? Because we were taught to fear from our earliest education. Fear the teacher. Fear the authority. Always fear the authority. And they've done that. They've done a marvelous, I can't take that away from them. They did a marvelous job. They have basically kept most of the people, most of the adults running around in a childlike mind state. Because they came through a school system which told them that they had no authority and that they had to do as authority says or they would get bitch slapped. They would get they would be held after school. They would get a punishment. They would get the strap. They would. Now what I'm hearing from kids is that, and these are kids in grade 9. You know, if they're, you know, and that they're being watched all the time. You know, the authority doesn't just be at the school now. The school authority is outside the school. So if a teacher or a rat sees some kids having some fun that is outside the accepted fun, the kids are telling me that they will be get negative marks against their names or whatever, and that the teachers tell them if that happens, it could seriously impact their future career choices. These are kids in grade 9. They said, what are you worried about that shit for? You're in grade 9. Well, this is what they're telling us. So they put them into fear. Now when they get out of school and they go to work, they're always fearful. They stay fearful the rest of their lives. And that's why we don't have our nations. That's why we don't have control of our so-called countries. because we're stuck in a child position. And the government, the so-called government, is our parents. And they make the rules of the house. We have this new rule in our house up here in Canada that they want to add $10 over the next 3 years in tax to a carton of smokes, which is 80% tax to begin with. And they want to make a new rule that then they want to, I'm sure they'll put cameras up, probably. They want investigations for those like me after the show today, going to the reserve to buy some smokes. They will have people stationed or cameras there watching for me, Whitey, going into the red man's land to buy some smokes. And I will be punished because the house made a new rule. My parents, the government, made a new rule. Now, the government says they would like me to quit smoking, but they want the tax money. So as some people stop smoking, they lose revenue, so they up the price. So more people quit smoking, they up the price. So they're always getting the same tax dollar out of it, pretending they give a shit about your health, which they don't. You're just an account. Then they say, well, okay, well, but most people that smoke filtered cigarettes. So what we're going to do probably is we're going to remove the filters. Well, if we do that, then we have to control the contraband smokes, which is the smokes coming off the reserve. And so then we will, use our authority to detain you, detention, or take marks away from you, i.e. your labor, your money. So we never left school. It's that simple. We're still in school. And you can look at these bylaw officers and that, which can be quite incredibly stupid people. If you've ever talked to them, I mean, they're just brain dead, but they're like the school monitors running around the school, ratting you out. So we never really left school, and which means we never really grew up. Because if we're being held in the child position, which we are, because it was them that created us, the person, just like here the provincial government creates the municipalities, and the municipalities are in the child position of the province because the province created them. So we're in the child position. And that's why we're not getting nothing accomplished, because we remain in the child position under their authority. Well, as I said to our council, when are you going to grow up? All children grow up. They mature, they become men and women. But these councils have been around forever, and you're still in the child position. And you are not a council, a city council, town council, cannot give the middle finger to the one that created them. Because the one that created them has the authority to take you, the entire council, if you don't do as you're told, and pull you and put in some new children that will do the bidding of the one that created them. In other words, respect your parents. Well, we have all kinds of incidents where children are abused by their parents, which is what we are in the position of here. We are abused children. But when those abused children make the age of majority, they either tell their abusive parents to suck air, I'm out of here, or just leave and gone on with their lives. But in the system we're in, we're children forever. And we have to understand that, and we have to grow up. We're not men or women in the eyes of the so-called government. We are children. And if you buck your parent, you're going to get punished. So until we grow up and give them the middle finger or whatever it is you want to do, right? Show your absolute disgust. Give them a bowl of Chef Boyardee spaghetti. That ought to give them the idea that you're pissed off. But the fact is we got to grow up. And we're not going to accomplish anything in the child position because they have the authority to discipline you. So we have to grow up. And the sooner we do that, the better. Once we grow up, they have no authority over us. You know, that's why I keep telling people that the answer, and I will stick to this until it's proven wrong, but because all councils are in the child position and they do the bidding of whoever's in power. So, you know, your local town council, if your state government is left, you have a left municipal council. And if it's right, you have a right municipal council because the council does the bidding of the state because the state created it. And they do what they're told. The problem is the state is a member state of the United Nations under international law. So your state is doing the bidding of those who created the UN in Israel, which is the Jews. So you're controlled by the Jews at your local council, and you're held in a child position, and you'll be disciplined if you don't do as you're told. How do we operate like that? We can't. So my attitude is we have to go and get hold of the local councils. Now, does the state have the right to pull an entire council if the council is given the middle finger to the state? Absolutely. Absolutely. You say, well, then how are we going to accomplish anything by taking control of the local councils? Well, we can be as tricky as they can be, for one. But it's not, I'm not talking about a city council. That won't work. We need the city councils across the nation, across the country, across our lands. One man standing can be knocked down. We've been proven over and over and over in history. He's our hero. He's going to save us. Whack. Oops. And then the people deflate. You'll always be in a losing position under those circumstances. So we don't need any heroes. We don't want any heroes. Heroes are too easy to knock out. So we need many, many, many councils to be taken over. And the council, remember, the council is the one that hires the police force. The police are actually in the child position of the council. Okay, so now you have some authority. And now you have the opportunity to bring these people in and talk to them and explain to them what's going on, and that their families are in harm's way as well. So you need to come on home, so to speak, And your job is to protect your families and everybody else's families in your local area. Now, as Faye said last night, the police in Calgary are getting really bad. Well, of course they are. Okay? Of course they are. But once you have control of the council, you can haul their asses in and set them down and say, you know, you're not really fitting in with them with the locals here at all. So we're going to have to let you go and go find somebody that has the attitude of a peace officer, not a policy enforcer. But once we gain enough of these, and it's very simple to gain them because they're very cheap, you know, you're never going to win the presidency. Okay, you're never going to be the head of state. That ain't in the cards for anybody that's trying to save their country. That's never going to happen. So the only option you got, the only place you can get power, the only place you can get power is sitting right where you live, and that's your local council. We get control of those local councils, and we call it a virus, if you will, because virus spreads, and we want to spread that from council to council to council to council to council. We want to infect these councils with men and women who get it, who have a backbone and a mind and some spirit in them. And then once we have enough councils, then we have the power. Then we have the power to tell the state to piss off. Because now we control the power. What happened here in Ontario is not far up the road from me when they were amalgamating, which was regionalization, which is Sovietization, which is the plan of the Jews. The Sovietization of the West. This is all laid out. Global to local. The local council doing the bidding of the internationalists, the globalists, implementing their agendas, which gives the power of the state to the globalists. So your local council is evil. I don't care if they go to church. I don't care if they're upstanding citizens. They are implementing the agendas designed to destroy the West. Therefore, they're evil. And they got to get out of there. They got to get removed. And the only way you can remove them, you remove them two ways. One, walk in with a bunch of guns, and that don't play out very well in the media. It would play out well in the media if you own the media, because you could say, hot damn, you know, Jim and the boys went in and got these evil people the hell out of there, and we were promoting it that way in the media, and people are going, yeah, that's not the way it plays out because we don't have control of the media. You go in there and do that, the media is going to say, you know, some radicals, some, what do you call those, skinheads, whatever, have come in and have caused all this trouble, and oh my God, your municipality's in trouble, and the people go, ah. Depends who's got control of what. Because if you do the other one, you already got the media. And the people already are sick and tired of what their local council is shoving down their throat. You can't go anywhere that the people aren't pissed at their councils. But standing at a council meeting going, I'm pissed, is equivalent to throwing pebbles at a castle wall. It has no effect. The only effect you're going to get out of that really is that, well, you're crazy. You're one of those conspiracy theorists, of which turns the sleeping people against the one that's trying to save their asses. So when I say it's spiritual and psychological, I mean it's spiritual and psychological. Now, if we had control of the media and you walked into the council and arrested everybody, then the media play out would be totally different. It would be, congratulations, those brave men and women that went and got those evil SOBs out of our council. Thank God they helped free us. That would be the media. Now that works. That works. That's very empowering, but we don't have control of the media. That's why I keep saying we need local media. We don't have any local media. So we're really not accomplishing much. You know, we're sitting here talking, but we're not slowing anything down, and we ain't really changing anything. We have to make a concerted effort. This is a war. And it's a war of the mind and the spirit, and we got to get a hold of those minds. The only way you can get a hold of the minds is with media. And people keep telling me, well, we got the internet. That ain't media. It may be a form of media, but it isn't an effective media. Because regardless of what anybody wants to believe, the number of people, the percentage of people that go and listen to a show like this, or go to a Facebook page like mine, or somebody else's is trying to get the word out, is not effective. Because the vast, vast, vast majority of the people don't go there. They go to work, they go to school, whatever, they come home, they turn on the TV, the newspaper shows up at the door, they're driving around in their car with the radio on. They ain't getting the message. So, you know, we need to build some kind of a core somehow, be it a central body, be whatever you want to call it, that we can show people how to get the media that needs to get. The story has to get to the people. And everyone lives somewhere, and that's where we have to get the truth to, is where they live. Now, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the absolute best way to do it is with print, delivered to homes. Posters, like Faye said last night when they went after and actually got the fluoride out of the water in Calgary, but they had to go through that same system before the light went off in her head, in her friend's head, that they were going to the council with all the information, with all the scientific information, laying it on the council's table, saying, look, here it is right here. Fluoride's bad for you. And they get that little patron. Well, thank you for coming today, Faye and your friends. That's quite interesting. We'll look into it. Pat, pat on the head. Thank you very much. Next. It took them a while to figure out they were being patronized and they weren't accomplishing anything. So they took it to the street. They took it to the houses. And they got aggressive about it. And when they put enough heat on the council, because now they're not sitting there chucking pebbles at the castle wall and being petted on the head or being laughed at, they went to the people. And that forced the council to remove the fluoride. Because why? Because they're chicken shits. They're chicken shits. You hold their feet to the fire. When you hold them personally out front, they're chicken shits. And to some of their sorry little asses, they finally succumb and go, damn, man. Okay, what's the solution here? Because we can't patronize them anymore because they get that. So, well, we got to keep implementing the globalist agendas, so kill the fluoride for the time being. So while they got the fluoride out of the water in Calgary, it doesn't stop all the other agendas that are being implemented at the local level. So the local council is both the problem and the solution. If it's allowed to stay as is with those that are in it, and every CAO, make no mistake about it, every CAO or city manager is specifically schooled in how to implement the globalist UN agendas at the local level. Now, the CAOs and the city managers are the ones that actually set the council agendas. They're not elected. This is a Soviet way of doing things, okay? This is a Sovietization. These are not elected officials. You can't unelect the CEO or the CAO because they're not elected. Now, the CAO city managers are in charge of setting the agenda. They're trained to implement the agenda, the international, which is the Jewish, okay? Anytime you see the word international, put Jewish there. The Jewish agenda. And most counselors ain't that bright. You know, they're patronized as well. They have their egos stroke. Oh, you're doing a wonderful job, doing a wonderful job. Well, you know, a lot of my constituents are a little bit concerned about what we're doing. Well, they're not as intelligent as you. Okay? We have to do this for the betterment of the people as a whole. Oh, right. Yeah, okay, good idea. So I should just ignore these dissenters. Yes, because it's for the benefit of the whole. And those dissenters probably don't understand anything anyways. They're probably those conspiracy theorists. So I suggest you just turn a deaf ear to them and concentrate on getting these agendas implemented. Oh, right. Yeah. So your average council member, I mean, a lot of them nowadays are specifically schooled in the universities and that to implement these agendas, but probably a good half of your council is just, Bill ran a shoe store and decided to run, and he had enough friends in the shoe business or enough customer friends over the years and Bill's a good, honest guy. They put him in, but Bill ain't got no chance of saying nothing because Bill really don't know what the hell's going on. So we have to take the councils. We absolutely have to take the councils. And when I look at what our forefathers put themselves through to try to gain freedom for their offspring, and the struggles they went through. Now they got deceived, yeah. But their original commitment was to their offspring, to build a free nation. So we got to say thank you to them for that. But we also have to show them some respect, which means that we have a duty to fix this mess. And I see no reason whatsoever that we can't fix this. We know what's going on. We know the history that got us here. We know what's necessary to undo this mess. We know how we can take back power. We know what it's going to take to kick these evil dogs from our lands. All we got to do is decide to do it. If we fail to decide to do it, then, I sometimes, look at the creator and say, he's sitting up there and he's going, Jesus, you people are stupid. You think I'm going to save your ass? You're silly. Okay? Basically told you everything you need to do, and I told you not to be deceived, and you were deceived, and that makes you idiots. And you want me to come down and save your ass? Good luck with that. So this is in our hands. And I say this is a war that we're going to win simply because we're supposed to win it. Strike three and you're out. And this is World War III. Make no bones about it. So we strike out again, we lose. And if we lose, it's our fault. We got nobody to blame but ourselves. I see too many times, like Faye was talking about Calgary, and it blows my mind. Because when I lived in Calgary, I mean, it was, I think, Snow White. There was the odd black guy or lady running around, but they were totally assimilated. They were Canadians. Or I don't even like to use that word, but I'll use it anyways because that's what we refer to ourselves as. But it was for the most part white. The language spoken in Alberta when I was out there was English and Newfie, because it was on Newfoundlanders came out there to work because their economy had been taken away from them. And so I can't really call Newfie English. It is English, but it can be pretty tough to understand. It's like the all the regional languages in Ireland and Scotland and that. Definitely regional. But for the most part, Calgary was and Edmonton. I lived in both those towns. Was white, hardworking, respectful people. And unfortunately, the only ones that weren't shown respect were the natives. Now, see, I got this Calgary's awful today, and that really breaks my heart because it was a fine town. It was a fine city when I was there, but that was back in the 70s. That was back in, when was I? I know I was in Calgary when Elvis died, so I don't know what year he died in, 75, whenever. But I was in Calgary. Specifically, I was building a sign for a storefront, and I was out working in the backyard, and Elvis died, and well, that was interesting. But who's Elvis? I just kept working. But if Calgary's bad today, and I haven't been in Toronto, and last time I was there was, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. I had a government meeting to attend, and when I went out of Toronto, I just said, this is a place I never need to come back to. I mean, it is just a mess. But this is what they're doing with our cities, okay? And it's chaos again, creating chaos. When Faye said, the Tim Hortons she goes to, and I didn't say that to Faye last night, but she's listening today. You might want to find a different place to get a cup of coffee because Tim Hortons is completely involved in the depopulation movement. I called their head office on it and had a chat with them, and they say, well, we're not promoting it. Well, yeah, you are because it's on your. Well, we didn't. Well, you link to these people, which was population, what was it, Population Trust or whatever, which is which is a depopulation thing, with David Attenborough being a patron of it. And I did see they've removed that stuff now. May have it saved on a computer somewhere, but they were so proud. They did their assessments of what a sustainable population would be, and the sustainable population for the United States is I think you're running about 310, 320 million people in the United States now, or America. See how miserable this is, right? Keeping this stuff straight. So their population trust, or what is it called? Population trust or optimum population. I think that's what it was called. They changed the name now to population trust. But the optimum population group, which Attenborough was a patron of, but they got called out, so they had to change their name. They were being too out about it. But Tim Hortons is involved in this, make no mistakes about it. All corporations are. And so the population, the optimum population of the United States is not 320, it's not 350, it's not 400 million, it is 100 million. Okay, which means basically 2/3 of the population of America must disappear. Now, I also remember the optimum population for Britain, which is running around 65 million people or something. They brought it down to 32 million people. They thought that would be a good population number for Britain. And then they reassessed that and said, well, while 32 million may be sustainable, just to be on the safe side, this is what they're writing, just to be on the safe side, we ought to drop it down to 26 or 28. Timmy has almost no white employees. Then why go there, right? You know, I haven't been to Tim Hortons in years and years and years. I remember I went to the store one time to get a coffee, and they had a Earth Hour sign on the door. Well, that's just like irritating to me. So I went home and went to their website and got rooting around in there, and there found David Suzuki and this other lady who we've been trying to get into a debate, who was a Green member who was personally trained by Al Gore, and she's a local woman, been running around here to the theaters and that, showing the inconvenient truth, and then having a talk session about it afterwards, getting people jacked up. And when I find these people on Tim Hortons' website, we got a problem. So that's when I called head office and told them that, you know, I'm done. I did a little video, I think it's on my YouTube, of that, and got quite a few hits on it. But Tim Hortons, I would think twice about buying anything from those people, and most other major corporations. It is those major corporations that have gotten control of our food and our water and our schools and our hospitals. And, you know, it's like, who said that? Kissinger said that, you know, control the food, control the people, you know, control the health, control the people, control the education, control the people, control the water, control the people, right? It's like a bunch of mad, crazy scientists got together. And, you know, if you ever watch those old B movies, you'll have this crazed scientist, you know, if I can control the weather, I can control the world. Well, it's like they all got together. We got the chemtrail guy, we got the water guy, we got the food guy, we got the vaccine guy, we got the education guy, we got the health guy, and they all got together. And they called themselves the United Nations. And amazing, when you look at these old movies, all these crazy scientists are usually Jews. I'm just kidding. I could be wrong on that one. But that's the plan. So Timmy's is your big job after college. Okay, I can see that. And having hired some people who had degrees before, I can see how that would make sense because those people with degrees absolutely freaked me out on their inability to think. That's totally, the longer you're in those schools, the less ability you have to think. You may have a piece of paper with a fancy lettering and stuff on it and a design on it, but what that all that indicates is you're an idiot. You know, you've been compartmentalized because you don't have the capacity to think outside of that narrow little band they got you in. And I've seen this over and over and over again. I would always go out of my way to hire someone that was probably a dropout. I find them to be the better thinkers. They seem to think a hell of a lot better than these ones that have been compartmentalized by the school system. So I could see where a college grad would gravitate to somewhere like Timmy's and that, you know. So what else does this say? This is from Annan 6924. Banksters groom people for the service industry no matter how many degrees one has. So Timmy's is your first job after college, and then says, and most times your last job. So I guess that's possible. You know, we don't have very many what you would call entrepreneurs left. And an entrepreneur to me is just somebody that says, I ain't going to work for anybody, I'll work for me. You know, I was just talking to a young guy, went to get my coffee this morning up at my Max Milk, which I'm not that fussy about because that's all East Indian. But that's not the part that really bothers me. The part they're involved with crime. What do they call it? Crime Watch or whatever it is, with the OPP, and a few other things they're involved in. But I really, I guess it's not the lesser of two evils. I mean, it's just Timmy's is so everywhere and sells so much coffee, and people got sucked into it because Tim Horton was a hockey player. I mean, come on, and they're still sucked into that. Has nothing to do with Tim Horton. It's an international corporation. But people still identify it as a Canadian, wonderful Canadian company started by a hockey player. Well, none of that is correct now. Might have been at one time, but not anymore. But I was talking to this young guy. He used to work the night shift down at the Mac store there. I haven't seen him for a while because he hadn't been working there. I was getting my coffee. He came in to get a coffee, and I says, like, what are you up to now? You're not working a night shift here anymore. He said, no, I'm over at Boston Pizza now. Yeah, I said, oh yeah. Is that I guess better? And he said, well, you know, I'm cooking, and I'd rather do that than stand here at the counter all night. And so I said, you got the job you want. And this guy's a dropout. And it was rather amazing because he didn't just simply say, yeah, I did. This is a much better job. And because I remember talking to him sometimes at night, and I thought, you know, you're a really bright guy. You know, you are. He is. He's a bright guy. So when I was talking to him, you know, I says, okay, so you got the job you want. And I thought he'd say, yeah, or this is better or something. You know, and he stopped and he didn't say anything for a minute or so. And he says, you know, like, God, that's a hard one to answer, isn't it? It's a really good question. But when you analyze it, what's the answer? There's a guy cooking at Boston Pizza, right? And I said, I hear what you're saying. You know, is this, what is a job that you would want to have? It would be a job that you want to go to, would be doing something that you absolutely want to do. That's not a job anymore. That's called your life. And we're not there. The vast, vast majority of the people are not there. It's not about how much money you got. It's about doing something that you enjoy every day. And there's very, very, very few people that are lucky enough to be in that position. So I'm basically saying to him, I said, well, so, you're the kind of guy that to be happy doing what you're doing, it would have to be something that you're doing because you wish to do it and you're in charge of it. He said, absolutely. Then it's not work anymore. But he says, how do you do that? Right? I was working at Max here, and now I'm working over at Boston Pizza. How the hell am I ever going to raise enough money to be self-employed? And I think that's what the big trap is here for people that both go to school and don't go to school, is that they're, tight. So, a job at Max, the night shift, or Timmy's is an option kind of thing. And then people get trapped in this nonsense. And you ain't going to get rich working at Boston Pizza or serving coffee at Tim Hortons. Ain't going to happen. Now, the corporation benefits from all of this, but the people don't. Now, see, even with the idea of the franchise, right? The franchise is a bad idea. It's a good idea if you're the guy that starts the franchise, but if you're a franchise owner or you're working in a franchise, you don't really matter. I miss the little restaurants. I miss them desperately. They're so few and far between now. It's ridiculous. Because all of these mom and pop joints, I don't care if it's a shoe repair or a guy that fixes your lawnmower, or the mom and pop restaurant. These are people that are doing what they're doing because this is what they wish to do. And they try to do the best they can at it, but they don't have the capacity to market themselves properly, as big franchises do, and the people who support the franchises with their business have been deceived. They're just whatever is popular, they're going to gravitate towards. No thought process in there at all, and that leaves the mom and pop joints pretty much high and dry. And what it's done is it has made us like a very boring society, because it doesn't matter what town you go to now. It all looks basically the same. You have all the same franchises. It's all corporated. The mom and pops have pretty much disappeared. So you can't even get a flavor of the community. You just don't get the flavor of the community anymore. And the communities are dying because of it. So we need to get back. We got to go backwards a little bit to get back control of our countries, so-called countries. We got to get this stuff out of here. We got to become who we are. And that's not who we are. We're not corporate entities. Okay? We're not franchisees. Right? We're men and women. I miss it. I really, truly miss it. You know, I'd like to go through, like when Faye was on last night, she said they got Calgary cameraed to death. You go to the Tim Hortons, there's homeless people laying around outside. What the hell's a homeless man or woman doing in Canada or America? You know, it makes no freaking sense. We are so overloaded with resources in North America, comparatively speaking to our population. I mean, if you take Canada and America, we are the largest landmass on the planet by a huge margin at that point, because Canada is only slightly smaller than Russia. America is only slightly smaller than China. China has 1.2, 1.3 billion people. Russia has 250, 60 million people. America has a little over 300 million. Canada has 34 million people. So if we look at it realistically, at the landmass we share, and we do share it because Canadians and Americans are brothers and sisters. We came from the same place. We have the same origins. We have the same families. We have the same blood. So at best, we've got about 360 million people living in North America, which makes us the richest place on the planet. And yet we have homelessness and hunger. And people can't afford proper clothing. And we have this humongous bureaucracy who feeds off of these ideas. I was talking to a young lady yesterday who's split up from her husband or whatever, has a young child, 2-year-old, and working part-time at the Mac store, and we were talking about the bureaucracy, and I said once they get their hooks into you, they don't want to let you go because they need you to feed off of. Now, they're all the ones that are pushing the paper. They're all making considerably more than you are, but without you, they can't exist. That's bureaucracy. We got to get rid of that. That's got to get gone. And that goes back to that, is exactly what that book, The New Despotism, was describing, that 1928 or 29 book by a Chief Justice out of England. Look it up and read it, The New Despotism. And they was warning way back in the 20s that this is what was being implemented upon us. And it is, and it's very thick now. You can't breathe anymore. But the fact is that we don't need, I used to say, I'll move this along a little bit, but I mean, I used to say all the time, been saying it for years, imagine, I'll take a line off of John Lennon. But imagine that there's no other land except the land that is Canada. Then the question becomes, could those 34 million people survive and thrive with what is offered to us on these lands, of which we were given dominion over, of which we gave up our dominion over? Could those men and women survive and thrive? Well, of course. Now, if we move that along and say, okay, let's say, because we are the same landmass, if North America was the only piece of land on the planet with a population of around 360, somewhere in there, with what those lands offer, could that population survive and thrive? Again, we'd be in Shangri-La, because there's nothing we can't grow, engineer, build that we require. Now, what the international Jew has done is they've taken away our ability to feed ourselves, to manufacture what we require, to teach what needs to be taught, to run our own banking systems, and so on and so forth. So they put us into a position basically of dependency and incompetence. And I don't believe we're incompetent. I know we're not incompetent because we have our forefathers' blood running through our veins. Therefore, we're most definitely not incompetent. We've just been deceived to the point we can't see anymore. And we don't know anymore. And therefore, we're continually deceived. Because once you see and once you know, you cannot see, or you cannot not see, and you cannot not know. Therefore, you can no longer be deceived. Therefore, your mind is free. And we got to get to work on this. These are our lands. These are our people. And that's all that matters. That's all that matters. We got to get back to manufacturing what we need. We got to get back to growing what we need. And we get to get back to an education system that is one of knowledge, not indoctrination. And I don't know that I can do this. I'll have to do it this way. I have, my freaking, even my Skype is screwed up on this computer now. This is bad. But anyways, my new, the new, what do I call him? The new defense minister of Canada is on the horn here. I just got to dig him up and drag him in here somewhere. Where did he go? Where the hell did he go? Now I can't even find him on my Skype. This is ludicrous. You know, I got a chance to talk to the new defense minister, and I can't get him in here. And I can't, oh, there he is. Okay. We got a couple minutes left, and then I'm headed to the reserve. If I can't, outside. Hello, Mr. Defense Minister. How are you?
Hey, boss.
How's it going?
It's going. Just couldn't help but listening on your show while I'm, doing my public duty of keeping my grass clean and pristine for the neighbors.
Well, yeah, you don't want to upset your neighbor.
Correct.
Because then they'll phone the bylaw people. And they'll come down with a little piece of paper. And they'll go, it says right here, didn't you get it? It says right here, you got to do this. Jesus, we made an amendment. Your grass is now a 1/4 inch too long. And it's upsetting the neighbors.
You know what's really going to upset my neighbors?
What?
I got a garden in my backyard, which isn't supposed to have one because it's not a really big backyard, but I love to live within the nature as best I can. I'm going to grow 4 pot plants.
Well, that's a good idea.
But the problem is the regulation says they can only be so high. I think it's 4 feet or something.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to tie them off, the branches off, and pull them sideways and have them spin around. And I'll have 8-foot pot plants that'll look like 4 feet pot plants. And I'm gonna get so stoned when they come to maturity.
See, I don't know. I don't know about all that stuff. I haven't partaken of that in so long. I'm too busy. I certainly got to say I enjoyed it. But at 138 years old now, I got other things I got to try to get accomplished.
I mean, you can always, once you take the bud off and you smoke it or put it into oil and save some lives, because it is a life-saving drug. Naturally.
No, I have no problem. No.
Yeah,
I mean, I have no problem with it. I mean, at all. I mean,
make hemp rope with it, and then we could hang some politicians.
Well, there you go. See, there you go. Now you got me wanting to grow some plants.
There you go. See, there's the reason I call it.
Like Rick Simpson. We've had him on the show a few times, and there's a man that I have a great deal of respect for. I mean, he's been through hell and back, and he ain't backing down. And it's the same thing as Michael Schmidt with the milk. These are two men who understand the benefits of these natural products, and they have been dragged around, beat up, arrested, jailed, and they will not be intimidated. And these are the kind of people that we need more of. I don't know how we're going to grow them. Maybe in the backyard. Oh,
you're allowed 4 apparently as of next year. So they say.
Yeah.
They got to be GMO, I think. I'm not sure yet.
Oh.
If it's GMO, then I'm going to have to forgo that.
See, that's the problem. Like, you don't want to go near there.
I got friends.
I mean, there's lots of seed out there, right? I mean, there's no shortage of good seed. They haven't got that seed yet.
I got friends that have heritage seeds.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of good weed being grown. Why would you want to buy government weed? I mean, give me a break, you don't want their stuff. You want nothing to do with them. Now, they used to call, like evil, the evil weed, right? Marijuana is an evil weed. Now what you got, they finally made it an evil weed because they've legalized it.
Yeah.
Right? So the evil have control of the weed, therefore it has now become evil.
Yeah,
so we just want to, we just want to stick with the good weed. I went and watched that movie or that video about the Dresden bombing. It about made me puke last night.
Yeah.
That is
on a serious note, Ron, that's I mean, you talk about revisionist history. You see something like that, and it isn't even revisionist. It's always been there for everybody to see.
Yeah, but it was just never. It was just put off to the side, kind of thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, don't bring that front and center. Did I tell you about the 6 million Jews? Yeah. But what about Dresden? No. It's the 6 million Jews. Oh, right. Forget everything else. 6 million Jews. Okay, I got it. Can I say anything negative about a Jew? Absolutely not. Henry Ford did.
Did you ever see the? There's a video.
We're going to hit news, right? We're going to hit the noise right now, or music. So before we go, I just want to say thank you to those in the chat. Thanks for the new defense minister for calling in. And I want to thank Jules for running this network. I don't know how the hell she does it, but she does it. And she does a wonderful job of it. And I'm not going to mess up this weekend. 3 o'clock, Hal is on deck. And I don't get to listen to as many of his shows as I wish I could because I'm headed to the reserve here shortly. But I do listen to them when I can. And a very intelligent man, knows his stuff. So tune in at 3 o'clock. And, hey, Chris, thank you very much. Thank everybody. We're out of here. I'm up.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, they burn the kids. No one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives.
This is Ozzy Skateboard, and you're listening to UCY.TV.